Hi everyone, I'm Sophia and I'm back with a brand new video that I'm super excited about because I'm always asked what are the pros and cons about being a flight attendant, and I can't always give an exact answer because what could be a pro to me could be terrible for somebody else or vice versa. So what I can give is 5 things to consider before you become a flight attendant or before you apply for the job. And none of these should be taken as a deterrent because there are plenty of people who are flight attendants with all of the things that I'll mention in the somewhat of a bad light, or they have this going on in their life and they make it work. But I just think it would be beneficial for people to know a little bit of what they're getting into before they apply. So here it goes. Now, the first thing on my list is being away from home. And ironically, I'm home as I'm recording this. But anyway, this is probably the most obvious on the list, but you might not realize just how much you're away from home and that the days in which you are away aren't always up to you. Chances are they're not up to you. So, birthdays, anniversaries, holidays, special dates in your life, you might not get those days off. Now, there are ways to get around it. You can drop, swap here and there with some of your trips, but chances are if you're really junior, which is you're very new to your company compared to the people above you, then you'll be working the days that people above you don't really want to work. So that's a good thing to keep in mind. Another thing is that if you're on reserve, which is basically on call for a certain amount of time, you have to be really flexible with your time. So let's just say you're on reserve Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. You can be given a trip where you go somewhere, come right back Monday night, or you could be given a 3-day trip where you're away from home till Wednesday. So if you have major responsibilities kind of pulling you to stay wherever you live, you might have to keep that in mind as you're applying for the job. Now, the next one is a big thing for me because I am a people person, and that's just being around the public and constantly being surrounded by people. And it's great for me because I love talking to people, interacting with them, and meeting people from basically all walks of life. But every now and then, there are those times where you're just like, oh gosh, get me away from these people. I don't want to be around anybody. Just leave me alone. But I always say that there's no such thing as a bad day in customer service. So if you're someone who's hot-tempered or it's hard for you to swallow your tongue, you might have to take that, you definitely have to take that into consideration because this job requires so much of your customer service skills that you just have to learn to be around people for better or for worse. And that's actually a good thing too, because there are plenty of days where I'm not really in a good mood, but I come into work and a passenger just makes my day, just talking to me. Or I see families that are excited to meet each other and things like that. Those heartwarming stories that you hear about, you kind of experience them one-on-one when you work in the air. And so it's a pro and a con, I guess, in my opinion. Number 3 is about cash money, dollar bills, y'all. I know that was so corny, but anyway, flight attendants don't make that much money, and I think when I got into it, I knew about it, I did my research, and I know that they don't make that much money starting out, but you're excited and you're happy about the job, and then you get your first paycheck and you're like, oh snap, they really weren't lying about how much money you don't make. So it's probably one of the biggest things to consider for most people. So don't think that you're just going to start out off the bat making 6 figures. No, that just won't happen. So definitely do your research on the company that you want to work for, the companies, and take that into consideration when you're making your decision. Now, given that a flight attendant's primary responsibility is to keep passengers safe, the next thing on my list is about the things that can go wrong, like a crash, a hijacking, passengers dying in flight, those type of things. Nobody likes to talk about them, obviously, but 95% of the things that you'll learn in flight attendant training have to do with the things that can go wrong. So if you're someone who does not work well under, bad situations and things like that, it's a big thing to consider because that's the nature of the job. That's what you're on the plane to do. So keep that in mind. Now, my last thing to consider is about the spontaneous nature of the job. Now, if you're the person that you love coming into work and having something new and fresh, then this is the job for you because things change all the time. We do have a set routine on passenger service, but there are different personalities on every flight. So sometimes it's super exciting, sometimes it's boring, sometimes it's funny, sometimes it's not funny. It just every day is kind of different in terms of what you'll experience that day. Now, I say this as a thing to consider because if you're someone who you like to know what to expect or you don't like surprises, you won't find that in this line of work. Things happen all the time. If you're going to work one more flight and then you're home and that flight gets canceled, you're stuck in whatever city you're in. So you definitely have to be super flexible, super spontaneous, and down for whatever, basically, because that's what the job calls for. Those are the 5 things I think you should consider before applying to be a flight attendant. And let me know what you think. If you have any questions, comment below. Or if you're a flight attendant and there's something else that you think that people should consider, comment below and let us know. Thanks for watching. Give this a thumbs up if you enjoyed. Talk to you soon.